Busy, busy, busy. That is how I describe myself and Oregon's coaching staff, as it turns out. So, Jerome Simmons is a depth piece on the defensive line. Oregon needs at least one more, maybe two, possibly three, because quite a handful of guys have left the room from the 2025 team. Tioni Gray to Notre Dame, Toby Hastrup to West Virginia, Terrence Green to Alabama, Jericho Johnson down to Cal with Tosh Luploy. They're all over the place, quite frankly, a little bit more than I thought they would be. So, Oregon brings in Jerome Simmons, who's 6'4", 330 pounds. Very much in the mold, though he's an inch or two shorter than Tioni Gray or Terrence Green. Just a big body in the middle, and sometimes you just need bodies out there that are hard to move. And 330 pounds, pretty good amount of weight. In 2025, didn't do a lot. Came over from UL Monroe, and don't get them confused with Louisiana. These are two different teams. There's the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, and there's the UL Monroe. I think they're the Hawks of some kind. But he actually didn't play a ton this year with UL Monroe. He logged 142 snaps, had a 59.4 PFF grade, which is not very good, had 10 tackles, 3 pressures, and a pass breakup. Now, I will say there is some Curt Cignetti feel to this particular move. He was a 4-star recruit once upon a time when he came out of Highland Community College, and he played the 2024 season at South Carolina, then went to UL Monroe, now makes his way to the Ducks. It's his 5th year of college football. 2 of those were to JUCO, yes, but it's his 5th year. This is not the sort of guy that, you look at in the portal rankings and he's going to be super high on the list. He's a body type that fills a need. And I don't think that this scenario of all these guys leaving was plan A for Dan Lanning and company. It's just the way that things have unfortunately worked out. But I definitely don't look at Simmons and say he's going to fight for starter snaps. No, this is the kind of guy, and it's hard to find these sorts of guys. If Oregon makes another move like this and it feels similarly underwhelming, that's because it's hard to find these moves. Most guys are going in the portal like Terrence Green or Tioni Gray because they want to start. They want to go somewhere where they're going to be the top guy because they aren't going to be with the Ducks. And when your top 2 defensive tackles are back from a group that is absolutely loaded up front, well, yeah, snaps were going to be hard to come by, not impossible. And all those guys, the other puzzling thing about it is they all played a pretty good amount this year. They all have multiple years of eligibility left. And Bear Alexander and Amari Washington are not sticking around after the 2026 season. Pretty sure Bear's out of eligibility, and Amari's not going to pass on being a first-round pick again. So that's the curious part to me. But I don't wish those guys ill will or anything. I understand. I just think if I were in that spot, I might make a different call, but I'll never know. I was never in that particular position. So Jerome Simmons is the first defensive line addition. They also had a transfer target on campus visiting recently from North Carolina. Keep an eye out there. Jordan Seaton is visiting on Monday, so depending on when you're listening to or watch this show, that might be today, that might be yesterday, might be 2 days ago. Maybe he's committed by now. But adding a guy like Simmons, even though Jordan Seaton's a better player, was a higher priority for me. You needed to have some depth. The interior of the defensive line, I mean, you got Aiden Breland there for sure. I hope he has a breakout third season in Eugene. Oregon low-key needs him to. But you needed to go and find a guy like Simmons. And I think at the interior, Oregon wants to be 5 or 6 deep. That allows you to not just have depth within a game, but also lets you be able to survive an injury or two that could flare up. So I think right now you're sitting at 4, maybe 5. So 1, maybe 2 more on the interior, I think is warranted. Now, The other transfer addition that Oregon made, and there were a few preferred walk-ons that I'll mention on tomorrow's show, but DeAndre Johnson is the interior defensive lineman from North Carolina that I mentioned. But Oregon also added Markus Dixon. And again, a move that is not going to, nor is it intended to excite and thrill and get you jumping for joy. No, so far, the biggest off-season news for the Ducks that should make you feel excited has been the returners. It hasn't been anybody that's entered in. Now, Jordan Seaton could change that, to be sure. But Markus Dixon is, I don't know, DJ Johnson round 2, pretty much. He's 6'4", 265 pounds. He's played tight end and defensive end, but is expected to play tight end, but does not have a career reception. So I think he's Travis Brashear, basically. He's 6'4", 265 pounds. He was a 3-star in the class of 2023. Number 654 overall player, number 29 tight end. He's played 3 seasons at Clemson, but this past year, he logged 13 snaps at defensive end. And in his first 2 years, over 12 games, logged 34 snaps at tight end. So he's played in 15 games across 3 years, doesn't have a catch. I think the only time you'll probably see him on the field is goal line package, maybe, in a jumbo. I mean, 6'4", 265, big dude. Big dude. I don't think he's some super mega athlete. I don't think Oregon has found some diamond in the rough here that's going to pop and make their tight end room be even better than we expected it to be. I mean, this could be one of the lower impact transfers they bring in this cycle. And I think so far they've brought in some guys that are not going to have a huge impact this year. Some obviously will. But as I mentioned, Oregon is not done in the transfer portal. So those are the two most high-profile moves. There were some preferred walk-ons that got added as well. But I think for Oregon, interior of the defensive line, still a need. Depending on what kind of cross-training they want to do, nickel could still be a need. Obviously, they're hosting Jordan Seaton for a visit, so they at least view offensive line as a room that could bring in a transfer. I don't know where you'd find an impact linebacker of Bryce Betcher's caliber or better. I think you're probably just developing the young guys you've got in that room, plus Jerry Mixon, Devin Jackson are super experienced to kind of headline that particular group. And hopefully you get, a guy like Dylan Williams back healthy this year, or maybe they feel Braden Platt's ready. We'll just kind of see how that goes. But yeah, I think those are the actual needs in the transfer portal right now. I think interior defensive line is still probably number 1, nickel's number 2, offensive line number 3. But Markus Dixon, welcome to the flock for sure. Question here came in from EJ. Of the players that left, which will have the most success at his new school? So the name that popped into my head, honestly, is Austin Novosad, who went to Bowling Green. Got to tell you, I didn't see that one coming. I believe, though, double checking real quick because I forgot to before I sat down to record the show. I believe Eddie George is their football coach. Yeah, Eddie George is the football coach at Bowling Green. That's who Austin Novosad's going to play for. I don't know what their quarterback situation is and whether he's being brought in to start or if he's being brought in to compete. But I think Kingston Lopa at Cal could turn into like an all-ACC honorable mention sort of guy. I think Cooper Perry at Cal could also work out. I've always been a Cooper Perry fan, and he's just following Tosh down there. Tioni Gray at Notre Dame, we could look up and say that he's starting to burst onto the scene. But if I had to pick one guy right now, quarterback is at any level tough position to go play. I'd probably say, by the way, Austin Novosad in Maction, I'm going to be so drawn in during the week this year. That's honestly awesome stuff. I'm going to go Kingston Lopa at Cal. Solomon Davis and Justice Lowe went to San Diego State, I believe, and those could work. But I'll go Lopa at Cal. I think that one's going to work out. But Oregon's starting to fill out the depth. As I said, though, more work to be done.